What happens when unwavering truth clashes with a media machine built on narratives? This story isn't just about politics. It's a masterclass in dismantling deception, and you might be surprised by who comes out on top. Karoline Leavitt and Kaitlan Collins are at it again, but this time, the tension is at an all-time high. Ever since Karoline stepped into the role of White House press secretary, her fiery exchanges with Collins had become the stuff of headlines, with each clash ending in yet another decisive win for Leavitt. But their latest confrontation, it was so intense that people are seriously questioning how Collins still holds her position. What did Karoline say that left Collins visibly flustered on live TV? And could this be the breaking point that destroys what's left of Collins's credibility? Over the past few weeks, Leavitt and Collins have gone toe-to-toe in some of the most heated press briefings in recent memory, each exchange more explosive than the last. But this latest showdown, it has ignited an all-out media firestorm, sending shockwaves through Washington. It all began when Collins, never one to shy away from a fight, thought she had Leavitt cornered with this question: which White House official made the decision to bar the AP reporter from the Oval Office and the diplomatic reception room last night? Leavitt responded, "Well, first of all, let me just set the record straight. It is a privilege to cover this White House. It's a privilege to be the White House press secretary, and nobody has the right to go into the Oval Office and ask the President of the United States questions. That's an invitation that is given. And there are hundreds of outlets on this campus, many of you in this room, who don't have the privilege of being part of that pool every single day and getting to ask the President questions. We reserve the right to decide who gets to go into the Oval Office, and you all have credentials to be here, including the Associated Press, who is in this briefing room today." At first glance, the question seemed harmless, maybe even routine. But make no mistake, this was a trap. A carefully staged setup designed for one thing: a viral gotcha moment. Kaitlan Collins wasn't just posing a question. She was laying an ambush. Her sights were locked on that one clip, the one she was certain would expose a glaring contradiction in the Leavitt-Trump camp. With her signature smug grin and unwavering confidence, Collins believed she had it all figured out. But here's the thing. Karoline Leavitt isn't some inexperienced spokesperson fumbling through talking points. She's a seasoned political fighter. She saw Collins's move coming from a mile away, and instead of walking into the trap, she did something far more devastating. She flipped the script entirely. Not only did she sidestep the setup, but she turned it right back on Collins in a way that left the CNN journalist stammering for a response. When Karoline pointed out that access to the Oval Office isn't a journalist's entitlement, she wasn't just pushing back. She was delivering a mic drop moment. It was a masterclass in control, flipping the entire exchange upside down before Collins even realized what had happened. Now listen closely to this clip and pay attention, because what happens next is brutal. Collins continued, "The reason that the AP was barred, which they said was because they're not using the phrase Gulf of America. They're using Gulf of Mexico, in line with their standards. And so the question here is this setting a precedent that this White House will retaliate against reporters who don't use the language that you guys believe reporters should use? And how does that align with the First Amendment commitment that you were just talking about?" Leavitt, calm but firm, shot back, "I was very upfront in my briefing on day one, that if we feel that there are lies being pushed by outlets in this room, we are going to hold those lies accountable. And it is a fact that the body of water off the coast of Louisiana is called the Gulf of America. And I'm not sure why news outlets don't want to call it that, but that is what it is." Denied her coveted gotcha moment, Kaitlan Collins dropped the act and let the truth slip. Her entire setup had one goal: to weaponize the so-called Associated Press ban from the Oval Office and turn it into a scandal. The plan? Frame the Trump administration as hypocrites, loud champions of the First Amendment who suddenly couldn't handle the heat once they were in power. It was textbook media spin, and Collins was convinced she had struck gold. But here's where it all fell apart. Karoline Leavitt always 10 steps ahead, wasn't about to let Collins control the narrative. With a calm but razor-sharp response, she made one thing crystal clear. Holding the media accountable isn't an attack on press freedom. It's a demand for honesty. She reminded the room that she had vowed to call out media lies, distortions, and outright propaganda, and that outlets like the AP, which peddle misinformation without hesitation, weren't entitled to a free pass into the most powerful office in the world. The message: press freedom doesn't mean freedom from consequences. And just like that, Collins's big exposé crumbled into yet another self-inflicted disaster. But did Kaitlan finally learn her lesson? Of course not. Because here she is, once again, going head-to-head with none other than the leader of the free world, Donald Trump. Collins, interrupting, started, "Mr. President, you won the White House in part because of high inflation. If your tariffs make prices go up..." Trump, cutting her off sharply, retorted, "Excuse me, we haven't asked you to speak yet, please." Trump didn't shut Kaitlan Collins down for being assertive. He shut her down for crossing the line into outright disrespect. This is his office now, and he sets the rules. He decides who speaks and when. And if you're not called on, you don't get to hijack the moment. Simple as that. But instead of following the same rules as every other journalist in the room, Collins tried to bulldoze her way through, shouting over others, refusing to back down, desperate to make herself the story. Trump wasn't silencing the press. He was maintaining order, ensuring that other reporters had their turn to ask questions. The smartest move for Kaitlan? Act like a professional, wait her turn, and ask her questions when called on. But let's be honest, decorum has never been CNN's strong suit. And Trump? He wasn't done with Collins just yet. While answering a question about Mitch McConnell, he took one last shot at her, a sharp, unmistakable reminder of who's really in control. After a reporter asked about a potential pick, Trump responded about McConnell. He wasn't equipped mentally, in my opinion. He'd let the Republican Party go to hell if I didn't come along. The Republican Party wouldn't even exist right now. Mitch McConnell never really had it. He had an ability to raise money because of his position as leader, which anybody could do. You could do it even, he said, pointing directly at Collins. And that's saying a lot. Donald Trump knows exactly how to land a blow, and this time, Kaitlan Collins was the one left reeling. With just a few sharp jabs, he had her scrambling for a comeback that never came. Then, with the room hanging on his every word, he delivered the knockout punch. He locked eyes with her and, without a hint of hesitation, declared that she was just as incompetent as Mitch McConnell. Ouch! For a brief moment, the entire room froze, the weight of the insult settling like a heavy fog. Collins had walked in, thinking she could control the narrative. But instead, she found herself completely dismantled on live TV. This wasn't just a casual dig. It was a calculated strike, one that exposed her bias, her weak arguments, and her failed attempts at playing hardball. Trump wasn't just shutting her down, he was reminding her, and the entire press corps, who's really in control. And judging by Collins's stunned expression, she got the message, loud and clear. But Trump, he wasn't done yet. And this should have been done by Biden years ago. This should have never been allowed to happen. I know he's a friend of yours, but couldn't Putin just withdraw his... He's a friend of CNN. That's why nobody watches CNN anymore, because they have no credibility. Turning to another reporter, he said, "Okay, who else? Yes, please." Then, looking back, he reiterated, "That's exactly why nobody watches CNN anymore, because they have zero credibility." Let's be real. This isn't Trump's first showdown with the network. His battles with CNN go way back. And if there's one thing he's mastered, it's exposing their bias in real time. Remember Jim Acosta? The so-called journalist who built his career by interrupting Trump, arguing instead of reporting and grandstanding during press briefings? That worked right up until Trump had enough and revoked his White House credentials after one outburst too many. And now, Kaitlan Collins is walking the exact same path. Same network, same tired tactics, same humiliating result. Trump has never hesitated to call out CNN's games, and every time they come after him, they prove how desperate they are to trip him up. But time and time again they fail, because while CNN is chasing gotcha moments, Trump is playing for the win. You remember this infamous showdown between Trump and Kaitlan, don't you? Collins asked. When they went to the Capitol and they were breaking into the Capitol, smashing windows, injuring police officers, why did it take you 3 hours to tell them to go home? Trump responded, I don't believe it did. Oh, let me pull it out. I have to pull it out. So if you look, on January 5th, the day before, I said, please support our Capitol Police and law enforcement. They are truly on the side of our country. Stay peaceful. Stay peaceful. This was the day before, and this was in the form of Twitter, now Truth Social. I think it's far superior. Okay, I hope everybody's on Truth. If you look, January 6th, before 2:30, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. This is right after, as it was happening. But what happened is they took it down. I don't know why. I think they took it down because it was so good. They didn't like it being up there. I am asking, and we didn't know until I got it back, because now I have 90 million people waiting for me to go back. But I'm on Truth, and I'm staying on Truth. Wait, listen, I am asking for everyone at the U.S. Capitol to remain peaceful. No violation. Did we want no violation? We want no violence. Remember, we are the party of law and order. Respect the law and our great men and women in blue. Thank you. That was at 2:30. That was very early. I love how Trump is pulling out receipts and shoving them right in Kaitlan's face, exposing her and the entire woke media machine for exactly what they are. Dead wrong. For years, they've pushed the same tired, debunked narrative. That Trump incited his supporters to storm the Capitol. That he was some power-hungry tyrant, a so-called dictator in waiting determined to rule Americans against their will. But here's the truth they refuse to admit. Trump called for peace. He told his supporters to stand down and respect law enforcement. And now, the hard evidence proves it. And with every fact of Rashad, every receipt, every undeniable piece of proof, Trump is tearing apart the media's manufactured lies, one by one. The same journalists who spent years smearing him are now scrambling, twisting themselves into knots to spin yet another false narrative. But Trump, he had enough. So right there, in front of everyone, he called them out, and there was nothing they could do about it. Collins challenged, why did you hold on to those documents when you knew the federal government was seeking them, and then had given you a subpoena to return? Trump interjected, Are you ready? Are you ready? Can I talk? Collins. Yeah. What's the answer? Trump. Do you mind? Collins. I would like you to answer the question. Trump. It's very simple to answer. That's why I asked it. It's very simple. You're a nasty person, I'll tell you. They just couldn't stop twisting the facts, even with Trump laying out cold, hard evidence right in front of them. The receipts were undeniable, plain as day. But did that stop the woke media machine? Of course not. Because to them, it was never about the truth. It was about pushing their narrative, no matter how many lies it took to keep it alive. To the woke mob, Trump could do no right. If he called for peace, they claimed he didn't mean it. If he condemned violence, too little, too late. If he defended himself, that was just playing the victim. See the pattern? The goal was never honest reporting. It was about controlling public perception. This is the same media that spent years amplifying baseless accusations, censoring stories that didn't fit their agenda, and gaslighting the public into believing fiction over fact. But now, Trump is standing his ground, dismantling their lies with irrefutable proof, and they're freaking out. Because the more people see the truth, the less power the media holds, and that terrifies them. Meanwhile, Karoline Leavitt is having the time of her life. effortlessly humiliating Caitlin Collins and her woke colleagues. And speaking of history-making moments, Trump's bold proposal for the U.S. to take control of Gaza is just further proof of his outside-the-box thinking. Because, as Leavitt put it best, insanity is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. And if that's the case, then the left-wing media must be completely out of their minds. For years, they've been setting the same traps, baiting, twisting words, taking things out of context, convinced that this time they'll finally get Trump or his team to crack. And every single time, total letdown. But do they learn? Nope. They double down, recycle the same tired tactics, and somehow convince themselves that this time the results will be different. It's like watching a bad magician try the same trick over and over, hoping the audience won't catch on. They roll out their big exposés, drop their so-called bombshell reports, and just when they think they've got them, bam! Trump or Leavitt smacks them down with facts, logic, and an ironclad ability to handle the media frenzy. At this point, it's not even a fair fight. It's like watching a toddler try to take on a heavyweight boxer and get knocked out cold every single time. But hey, let them keep trying, because if history has shown us anything, it's that the left is better at losing than they are at realizing they're losing. And that wraps up today's video. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit that like button, make sure to subscribe, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for watching. See you next time. In today's hyper-partisan media landscape, it's not enough to simply have the facts on your side. You need to know how to fight back against misinformation, distortion, and outright lies. The clash between Karoline Leavitt, Donald Trump, and Kaitlan Collins provides a perfect case study on how to win the narrative war. Here are the key takeaways. Anticipate the attack. Don't be caught off guard. Know your opponent's playbook and be ready for their predictable lines of attack. Leavitt knew Collins was setting a trap. She was prepared. Flip the script. Don't just defend, go on the offensive. Turn the tables on your attacker and expose their bias and agenda. Leavitt didn't just answer the question. She challenged the premise. Control the frame. Don't let your opponent define the terms of the debate. Set your own narrative and stick to it. Trump consistently reframes questions to focus on his message. Be unapologetically bold. Don't be afraid to call out lies and hypocrisy. Truth is your strongest weapon. Leavitt and Trump are fearless in confronting media bias. Know your facts and have receipts. Be prepared to back up your claims with evidence. Trump's use of his own social media posts to debunk Collins's claims was devastating. Maintain decorum when possible. There is a time to be assertive and a time when order needs to be restored. Understand that some people are unreachable. The goal isn't to change minds that are not in alignment. The focus is to maintain your position, not allowing others to control your narrative. The media landscape is a battlefield. To win, you need to be prepared, proactive, and unafraid to fight for the truth. What are your thoughts on this strategy? Do you have any other tips for winning the narrative war? Share your thoughts in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to the channel for more insightful analysis.